This is the afternoon race. The morning race started at 10 o'clock in the morning, okay? Finished up. At 2 o'clock, they went to the afternoon race, and this is the race for Indianapolis cars. These are the same cars that ran at Indianapolis the year before. Okay. Now, our race was in August. The year before would have been Memorial Day when these cars ran. They ran for the Elgin Trophy. And as always, the winner did not receive the Elgin Trophy. The winner received a medallion with the Elgin Trophy on it. Okay. That's what the driver actually got. They could use the trophy as long as they would pay a deposit so that the company made sure they got it back. As you know, we recently received one of our trophies. We managed to bring the 1912 trophy in here, the Illinois trophy. This trophy is in the Western Reserve Museum in Cleveland, Ohio. The Weidenhoff trophy from 1933 is in the Ford Museum in Dearborn. That's where they are. Ed, you want to tell us about this?
Okay. First, I want to thank the Maury here for all his help. I went to his house a couple times and I went through some of these things before. And I want to thank the gentleman over here. I contacted him about the program. I was going through my files here several months ago, and I saw this Elgin Road Race section, and I thought to myself, you know, I should talk to somebody about this, because I could be the only living person that saw the Elgin Road Race, especially from a business that was located on the road. I lived on the road. You can see this picture there. We lived upstairs in this building from 1933 to 1943. I went to school over in grade school right up on top there. So I thought it would be more interesting to you to know something that happened actually there. For one thing,
I think it is.
they piled straw bales in front of the station, in front of the garage. There's a picture here of this. This is the way the station looked at that time. From the north side looking at the station. They put straw bales all across here and across the garage over on this side. No one was allowed to be in the building during the race. So my folks put up a little stand back here by the cemetery. And we had a couple of wash tubs full of beer and pop. Ice. My mother made some sandwiches up, ham and cheese sandwiches. She had a little gasoline Coleman stove she cooked hamburgers on. It's a bag, you can't see that on here. So we did a lot of business there with that. And by the way, the prices that we have listed there, we sold Budweiser and Schlitz and Miller's High Life beer, 15 cents a bottle. Pop, of course, was a nickel. And, you notice there's room back here. One time a car couldn't make it, so he went right through here and around back here. This road is gravel, was gravel between Edina and halfway up to Snyder's Corner. Because this was Plato Township Road, gravel road was. The other section was Elgin Township, that's why it was blacktopped. The cars would come up to the corner, and when they got near the corner, they stripped it in second gear and floor the accelerator, and they go about an eighth of a mile up here in second gear. You can imagine the abuse those engines took at that time. The average speed going around this track was a little over 80 miles an hour. That's the average, which means they were going between 90 and 100 miles an hour on the straightaways. And this hill you were talking about down there, that's over on Highland Avenue Road. They cut that down now from what it used to be. But it used to be when the race was going on, the cars would actually leave the road. All four wheels would be up across the road. Let's see. I got some artifacts over here on the table that are similar to what he had produced. I do have a picture of the winning car here. That's the number 10 car. That was taken in Elgin when the owner had it at the Sherman West Corp place for a show. A friend of mine took a picture of it, and I had it blown up. And this car is going to be brought back to Elgin this year. You wanted to see it.
Oh, cool.
Ed, during the 1933 race, how old were you?
I was close to 8 years old.
Wow.
8 years old. And what was your job during the race?
Well, I used to carry things back and forth. See, we could go in the building in the back. There's a back door here to get pop and beer. And I had a couple of galvanized pails that I put the beer in one of them and the pop in the other, and carry them from here over to where we had to stand. Or any food that I could bring also. That was one of my main jobs. There was a fellow walking around there that sold these passes, and over on the wall you see that blue circle on that wall with it. Yeah, that was the passes tickets they sold for $1. There was a string around it. You put it around your neck. And in his back pocket he carried these programs like you saw here.
This one.
Yeah, he'd carry those and he'd give those out to people. But not many people bought those. If they saw him walking around, they'd walk somewhere else. It was really because there was no organization. It was just, public land most of the time. And let's see. And before the races, some of the cars would drive out there and drive around the track, but they weren't racing, they were just going around to see how the tracks were. And after the race was over, the Elgin Piston Pin special car, they had one that was painted orange, remember that specifically. Somebody had bought the car, maybe it was one of his sons that bought it, and they'd drive it around and come out to our place to eat. So we had quite a business going on here.
Oh, yeah.
My dad was laid off. He worked for the highway department, and he and two other fellows bought this property. And they had this Lawrence Wolf, this gentleman, run it. He and his wife were operating it. And when my dad got laid off from the highway department, he bought out the other two guys. And we moved out to Elgin. We lived on 364 Wabash Street in Elgin. Went to the Lowry School for 2 years. We moved out here, lived upstairs here. Had quite an experience for my mother. She didn't know anything about cooking or anything, or never run a restaurant. She did it. My dad, he didn't know much about the gas business either. He just had it rented out. I mean, they had this fellow run it for him. But just in case you don't know anything, I can tell you this while I'm thinking about it. This one pump here, the echo pump, is got half full of gas. it's not all the way full. Those are pumps you have to pump the tank, pump up, and the gas runs out by gravity. So it was a state law that whenever you sold gas, you had to pump it to the top every time. You couldn't leave it down here and start there for sale. So this fellow, he should have pumped that up. It shouldn't be down halfway like that. So. Let's see here.
And I notice on the picture, there's one thing that I find very interesting, and that's the 4 guys sitting on the roof.
Oh, yes. I'll tell you about that. Those fellows were some of my dad's good customers. The ladder, I can't see the ladder there anymore, but there was a ladder on the back that they got up with. And they had a perfect good view there.
So I guess so.
Oh, and then the ambulance is sitting over here. That never was used.
Good.
We never had an accident there at that corner. And there wasn't a tow truck there either at that time.
And didn't those guys come off the roof once?
Yes. There was a car that was headed right towards the roof. They just rolled off the back side because they thought sure the guy was going to run into the garage.
Yes.
I might mention also, as long as I got this for you, when my dad and these other 2 guys bought this property, the gas pumps were out here. They were stretched out here. So in 1931, they had a fellow who worked for the highway department, a carpenter. He put this, he added this on, this front part. And they brought the gas pumps from over there, and they put the gas tanks were behind the station. So that made a big difference. We did a lot of business at that time because the fair was out for 2 years, 1933, 34. And that 20 brought a lot of traffic through. A lot of trucks also. So, have any questions about anything?
What are the 2 cross streets? The north-south and one?
Oh, yeah, Coombs Road is the one that goes north, goes north. Yeah, that's blacktop now, of course. But
20?
20 is the one that goes this way.
At that time, that was the only way to get from Chicago out to what?
Oh, yeah, Chicago going west was
Yeah,
Route 20.
Ringo, Belvedere, and Rockford.
So it was a pretty busy,
Oh, yeah, it was a busy road.
business.
Leak Street in Chicago. That's Leak Street in Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, and Lake Street, yeah. So it was quite an operation. We did real well there, and then the war came along. We couldn't get gas, we couldn't get food, we couldn't get whiskey, we couldn't get cigarettes. So, plus the fact, my dad was 42 years old. And the draft board said, if you don't get into some defense work, you're gonna go in the army. And he had 2 kids and his wife, so he bought a farm on the other side of Hinkley Grove. And we rented this out and we moved and started farming. That was a lot of work. So, and I had a younger brother, so my dad wanted to keep me on the farm because I was helping him on the farm, so the draft board said, your brother can take your place. So I went in the army, 2 years, World War II. But then when I came back from the army, I could have used the GI Bill to go to college. I didn't use that. I wanted to go in business for myself.
Yeah.
So I came back and I took over the service station part of this business. There's a door in here, it's built inside. Before I say that, I'll say another thing. You may have heard of Cliff Lamp Construction Company. One of the first jobs he had was building an addition to this building. he built 2 stories up right in here onto that building. And took the garage doors off of this side, put them on this side, and we put a dance floor in this garage. And we had the inside hooked up real nice. So, and the inside there was where this room was, where my office was, from my gas station. So I ran that for 4 years myself, from 7 in the morning till 10 at night, 7 days a week. Until we built the new station out of starch, and then we rented it out. So I've had, well, figuring the time I worked for my dad, I had about 41 years selling gas. It was always Standard Oil. Oh, I gotta show you. I brought this along to show you the family.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta put it on.
My head's got bigger. So it goes in this theory. Yeah. But for many years, they used this type of cap. I'm so
Right.
glad that Kenny Barnhart isn't here today. Because he was working for Craig Floor when I first met him
Right.
up on Dundee Avenue. And that's when they wore these caps yet.
Yep. I remember.
And I was my dad was very strict about that too. When you worked the gas pumps, you had to have Amoco bought, Standard Oil bought Amoco company, and they changed the name to Amoco. But it was actually the same company.
Could you please put the cap on?
Well,
Just put it on.
Just put it on. Just put it on. That's all.
yeah.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And don't forget the windows.
I miss those old days because today the cars are being neglected.
Right.
When we pulled in my stations,
Full service.
we cleaned the windshield, and that's when they had non-pressure cooling systems. And you put water in the radiator in the summertime. And they boil out the water, and you check the water. Add water, check the oil, check the fan belts. You reach down and turn the fan belt over, and if there was a crack in the fan belt, you tell the customer about it, and 9 chances out of 10, you sell them a new fan belt. And the wiper blade, when you clean the windshield, it moves up, the rubber's coming off the blades, so new wiper blades. So, but now you have maybe an Indian lady sitting behind the corner in the building. You got 25 gas pumps out in front. And if you wanted to put air in your tires, they don't even have any air or drive your batteries. So I hated to see things go downhill like that. But you can imagine how many cars today have trouble because they aren't checked. Like, even the oil is involved.
Oil, yeah.
We check the oil every time.
Every time.
And we sold a lot of oil that way too. It was a great business. Even the headlights too. We checked them. The headlights were broken. You call them, so if they're smoky inside, they were smoking. New headlights. So it was a good business.
And how much was a gallon of gas? when you
Oh,
did your-
well, actually, I don't think our gas was that cheap. I know, I can remember we sold regular gas, this included the tax, of course, for 18 cents. And then Standard had a sub-regular gas, which all companies didn't have. My father-in-law had something to do with that. He used to work for Standard Oil in Chicago. And it was during the Depression. So he thought it was better if we have a gas that's be a couple cents a gallon less. 2 cents a gallon was a big difference back in
Sure.
those
Oh,
days,
yeah.
considering
Sure.
the price of gas. So we sold quite a bit of that. You could get 3 gallons of gas for 50 cents. I know we had people come in there, they need 50 cents and put in, they could drive for a week on that gas, you know.
Sure.
So it was, and motor oil, we had oil for 15 cents a quart, 20 cents a quart, 25 cents a quart. And when we came out of the canned oil, the first canned oil came out, just before the war, it was 30 cents a quart for canned oil.
Wow.
And that was isomers oil. And we sold the same oil in the bulk for 25 cents. And you know that isomers oil in the can did not sell? They have it on the pump islands and they get on there, they got so rusty the tank, I had to clean them off with Bon Amide. On top of the cans.
I remember
It's
that.
just people they wouldn't pay that extra 5 cents for the can. So, in fact, when we moved from the station to the farm, I kept out a case of this oil. It's isomers oil. And I still got some at home now. And I get oil for $85. Imagine that. Because it's so rare. I sold the whole case of oil when I was at Edina for $6.30. It was 24 quarts. So, I mean, it was good business.
Do we have any more questions for Ed? Any other comments?
Did you guys ever have stamps? Like, you know, my dad was a realtor in Barrington. He had all the cart gas stations.
No.
He'd sell,
I tell you, the Standard Oil dealers, I belong to the gas station retailers of Northern Illinois. I was the vice president of that outfit. And we were death on stamps. If we saw a dealer take on stamps, we'd have a conference with him. And because what happened is, when one person takes it, the next one gets stamps,
Sure.
the next one gets stamps, and the first thing you know, they've all given out stamps,
right.
and they're buying these stamps. They're not making much money than they made before. So it was just like a gas war. That's another thing we did. You know, a new dealer was coming in, and he cut his price to 4 or 5 cents a gallon. You know, oh boy, he did a lot of business, you know. Cars coming in, the next guy, he cut his price, and first thing you know, nobody's making any money. So we good just to keep the price up so we could make a decent wage.
So Maury, do
George?
you have any idea how many cars were entered in the 33 races? And would you know about how many people it drew to the race?
Well, unlike the early races where they reported, 50,000 people coming into Elgin for the races, the race in 1933 did not produce that many, but there were estimates of 20 to 25,000 people that showed up in Elgin for that race. Yes.
Was the 33 race intended to be a one-time affair, or was it thought it would go on?
When they originally planned it, they thought it might reintroduce it, but as they got into the planning and discovered how difficult it was to secure the roads and to actually shut down a state highway for racing, they then realized that this was going to be a one-time deal. Yeah. They still, remember 1933, they still had road racing in other parts of the country. When you look at Watkins Glen, New York, and you look at up in Wisconsin by Plymouth, up in that area, they had road racing that finally settled in on a special built track there. But the road racing itself became much more difficult as the car population grew.
That's not correct.
Yes.
Well, just two things. Could you repeat where the trophies are located, the two museums? And
Sure.
a follow-up would be, has anyone ever asked approximately what these museums want for these trophies?
Yeah.
So,
Liz?
can I answer that? So we've had the road race trophy, the big one from Elgin National Watch. We've had that here. We had it here for 5 years.
Wow.
Cleveland, it's the Western Reserve, Case Western Reserve Museum. And it's a Crawford Auto and Aviation Museum that has it. We have a request into them right now to transfer that item to our collection permanently. So they haven't addressed that yet. They have a committee that has to meet, and the guy who's in charge of the committee has been very ill, and they haven't met. So that's the staff's recommendation, that they transfer it here.
Permanent.
Yes, let's knock on wood when we say that. So that's the idea behind it, because they are not showing it. They haven't had it on display in years. Now, Henry Ford, I'm sure, wants their.
Yeah, Henry
There
Ford
one.
really will not discuss
Right.
releasing or selling that trophy to them. That's something that's not possible, although they were amenable to lending us the trophy since it is not on exhibit. Now, the other trophies, we don't know where they are, really don't. We were very fortunate to come across this trophy that we got, the Illinois trophy. But we're still missing the Aurora Cup and, several others that we don't know where they are.
And for that $50 stock, did your dad buy stock in the race? And did he make it, do you make any money?
The early races, the
Oh,
$50
yeah.
the $50 stock of the early races, in fact, did turn a profit for those people. Unfortunately, that race association went a couple of years longer. After they came back from World War I, they raced again in 1919 and 1920. Those did not prove to be profitable, and people that were still holding stock have really lost their money at that point. Yeah. But before that, they did return a profit.
So there was no stock sold for the 33?
No stock sold at all for the 33 race. It was completely different. It was a separate corporation, had no relationship to the early races. Yes.
Did I hear you say there were no accidents ever at your corner?
Not at our corner, no.
No near accidents or coming on? That's
Well,
unheard of.
they slowed down pretty good before they got to the
I
corner.
saw that graveyard over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to correct that, there wasn't an accident at his corner,
That's what yeah.
but a little further down, about a third to half a mile east of that fourth turn, there was a driver that died, but it was in practice, it was not in the race. And that driver died during practice. And it was from a broken wheel. A wooden wheel that came apart. And the reports actually were reported in the New York Times that as he came around the corner, there were mechanics that from other race teams noticed that the wheel was wobbling. And as he got further down, they saw the wheel come apart and his car rolled.
What else were you going to say?
Ed?
You were going to mention something else.
Oh, well, just in passing, I take aerobic classes in the center right now.
Of course.
And I travel over half of this course twice a week. I come from 20 to Edina and take the road that goes up to Snyder's Corner, the hairpin turn. Oh, that's another thing about the hairpin turn. That turn was actually was at an angle like this. It wasn't a 90-degree angle, it was like this. So what they did, they curved it a little. So it wasn't quite as bad, but still, it was a short turn. And they lost a lot of time at places like that. But going back to what I do, I drive this Highland Avenue into McLean Boulevard, and then I go down the center, but that is half the track. From McLean Boulevard back to Edina, and I travel twice a week. I think about it every time I drive on it. And I go along about 60 miles an hour on that road, and that's about as fast as I want to go on it. And that's why I had to be going between 90 and 100 to average out. It was a little over 80 miles an hour. It was 8.22, I think. is what I figured out to for the winning car. So, and you figure, oh, another thing, this Plymouth car was driven by Wild Bill Cummings. And he was the most disgusted guy you ever want to see. Because his car wouldn't perform, it overheated on him, and I don't even know if he finished the race, do you?
No, he did not.
He didn't finish it. And I think practically all the Fords finished it, didn't he? Yeah. And Henry Ford couldn't build those cars.
Oops.
He couldn't build those cars fast enough after that race. People, you didn't have to tell them anything, you know, about the car. They knew what it was, so. Well, I think that's all I have, unless you have any more questions.
I want to thank Jeff today for bringing in, this is a promotional piece from the 1933. Now, this is an Indiana road map. And right on the front of the road map is printed, visit the 1933 Elgin road race at Elgin, Illinois. Indiana road map.
It's very unusual.
Very neat. The other piece that brought in, I think just dropped here.
Oh, this flag.
Yeah, and that is a flag from the road race. I'm going to switch over because I've got something that I think you all will be very interested in. And if you bear with me, we'll get this going.
Are you gonna take this meeting?
Is it coming up? It's not coming up.
Sir,
If we were to take a ride
are
on
you
the
gonna
racetrack,
tape this meeting?
where would we find a map? On the internet?
You can stop, because he's just gonna